We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Palestinians begin to resist Hamas. California's anti-business stance continues. Michigan protesters shout death to America, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Signs of a civil conflict between Hamas and its Palestinian rivals are beginning to build, raising far-reaching questions about what a post-war government in Gaza might look like and how long it might last. Hamas late last month detained several Palestinian Authority officials in Gaza and tried to prevent an aid convoy overseen by Palestinian Authority staff from traveling in the enclave, accusing them of working with Israel in the first standoff between the two groups since the October 7th attacks that triggered the war. Hamas also said it would set out to arrest more people affiliated with the Palestinian Authority in Gaza. Meanwhile, Fatah, the party that controls the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority, last week issued a rare public rebuke of Iran, one of Hamas's primary funders and supporters. It said it rejects Tehran's attempts to dictate what happens in the region, while also criticizing the creeping influence of other foreign powers in Palestinian affairs. The spat is a sign of the deep-seated animosity between Hamas and Fatah and how it might complicate any attempt to establish a new administration in Gaza once Israel concludes its military campaign in the Strip, now entering its 7th month. Former President Donald Trump said abortion should be left to the states, avoiding taking a position on the number of weeks at which the procedure should be banned as he tries to navigate an issue that has animated Democrats. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint. The states will determine by vote or legislation, or perhaps both. And whatever they decide must be the law of the land, Trump said Monday in a campaign video. Many states will be different. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. This statement stands in contradiction of the Democratic claim that Trump would push a national ban. Protesters in Dearborn, Michigan shouted "Death to America" and "Death to Israel" during a rally held in the town. Tarek Bazi, a Michigan-based activist associated with the Hadi Institute, stated, "Aman Khomeini, who declared the International Al-Quds Day, said this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America." The comments were in a video from the rally that was shared by the Middle East Media Research Institute. Bazi's comments were followed by crowds chanting "Death to America." In the background, Bazi reasoned that the rallies held on the day are so anti-America instead of a focus on Israel because it's the United States government that provides the funds for all the atrocities, pointing to Israel's continued siege of Gaza as an example. Bazi did not address the atrocities committed by Hamas on October 7th, nor did he address the continued rape and violence committed against Hamas's hostages. The Bronx judge who set loose 6 suspected migrant squatters arrested on drugs and weapons charges last week had previously released 2 men who beat up a police officer. Bronx Criminal Court Judge Eugene Bowen, a Democrat elected in 2022, released the 6 men against the wishes of prosecutors. One of the migrants, Hector de Sousa Vellante, 24, of Venezuela, had been arrested in August on attempted murder charges before the case fell apart. Prosecutors had asked to hold de Sousa Vellante on $150,000 cash bail, but Bowen instead released him and 5 others without bail, and it's not the first time he's provoked controversy by doing so. In November, Bowen was the subject of a scathing New York Post editorial that blasted his decision to set free two men who were caught on video beating up a cop. The officer had asked the men to put out their cigarettes at the Freeman Street subway station, according to the NYPD. Prices for burgers, fries, and other fast food items have increased at various restaurant chains across California, according to a recent report. A New York Post investigation revealed that some fast food chains in the Los Angeles area raised prices on April 1st after new California statewide legislation went into effect, enforcing a $20 minimum wage for restaurants that have at least 60 locations nationwide, except those that make and sell their own bread. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the legislation, AB 1228, into law in September. In addition to the pay raises, it also establishes a fast food council, including representatives for both workers and employers, that can approve further pay increases and set standards for working conditions. Not content with destroying fast food, a San Francisco lawmaker introduced a proposal that would require grocery stores in the city to provide 6 months of notice before closing a store and to explore a replacement supermarket at the vacated location. Dean Preston, a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, introduced what he calls the Grocery Protection Act, which is based on a proposal the board approved in 1984 that was vetoed by then San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein. Preston's proposal would require grocery store owners to provide 6 months written notice to the Board of Supervisors as well as the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. The store would also be required to post notices at all entries and exits as a means of informing customers and the general public. The rule wouldn't preclude closures due to a store being unprofitable. It was a good idea in 1984, and it's even a better idea now, Preston said in a press release. Our communities need notice, an opportunity to be heard, and a transition plan when major neighborhood grocery stores plan to shut their doors. Meeting the food security needs of our seniors and families cannot be left to unilateral backroom decisions by massive corporate entities. The proposal does not address the growing danger to these stores, their employees, and their customers from theft and violence in the city. A new study has found that almost all children who experience gender confusion grow out of it as they age into adulthood. From Development of Gender Noncontentness During Adolescence and Early Adulthood, published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, we found that gender noncontentedness is most common around the age of 11 and that the prevalence decreases with age, said the study. This means by the time gender noncontentness children are adults, of the 21 to 22% experiencing gender distress, all but 2% grew out of it. To put it another way, 98% of all young adults are not gender confused, regardless of their circumstances during childhood and adolescence. It is becoming increasingly difficult to justify what has been termed gender-affirming care as more evidence of the dangers posed by puberty blockers is discovered. The United Kingdom recently banned use of puberty blockers for anyone not in a clinical trial. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.